like and subscribe to the channel, and maybe I won't tell your parents exactly what you smoked on the weekend with friends. NSFW, what's the best true story you can tell me about your life? My father speaks German and Swedish with his parents. My mother speaks Russian with her parents. But my sister and I can only speak English with the paternal grandparents, and Chinese with the maternal grandparents. My grandpa ran into my mom's elementary school friend over the summer. Turns out that she married the GM of Intel in Beijing, China. After some chit chat, the GM said that he's looking for an intern to stay with them for the upcoming summer. Now I'm flying to Beijing in June. Last May I went alone to Hanoi and was set to depart from Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon. 3 weeks later, I bought a motorcycle and drove the country. Along the way I had the pleasure of meeting some truly amazing people, foreign and native. 3 of which, 2 Germans and a French Canadian, joined me on my trip. We were a tight little crew. We got into some tough spots, but were brothers by the end. 3 weeks later we arrived in Ho Chi Minh, sold our motorcycles to other foreigners making the opposite journey, and said goodbye. I went to Vietnam for solitude and adventure, but along the way I found family. Edit, I've included a longer version of my story as a response to this post below. Give it a read if you're interested. Also, I'll answer any questions you guys might have. Hope you enjoy. There was this amazing, beautiful, funny girl at my work. She agreed to go out with everyone for drinks. Eventually it was just her and I going out after work. I was in love with this girl. She had all the qualities I was looking for in a woman, and loved spending time with her. We'd stay up all night laughing, having a great time. I thought I missed my chance when she started seeing a buddy of mine, but that fizzled out. I finally worked up the courage to tell her I really liked her. She told me she felt the same way and we began dating officially. We've been dating for about 4 months and I love this girl, and she loves me. I haven't been this happy in a very long time. She'll be here in about 10 minutes. Got to go Reddit. This was a while ago, but here we go. It was my job to water the plants in the house once a week. Now that we are past the context, here's a story. My mom recently got some new plants. This one with only leaves, one with like flowers and crap. You get me. Week after week I'm watering their plants and not thinking much of it. A few months go by and I'm doing my rounds when my mom catches me watering that all leaf plant and asks me, "What are you doing, abracadabra?" You know, watering the plants. That one's fake. Oh. Back in high school I volunteered at food bank for community service hours and whatnot. On occasion we would prepare and cook lunch for the homeless. Now this was at an old church, so not everything was up to date, such as the stovetop. One day we were making burgers on said stovetop, but we didn't have the appropriate pans, so we used this metal bin to cook the burgers over the stovetop. Unfortunately it leaked, and the stovetop lit the fuck up. I grabbed the extinguisher and sprayed the hell out of it. Now since I had never actually used a fire extinguisher before, I had made a mess, but it didn't matter. They called me a hero and everything. Praised me for my quick thinking, but man, shit just felt natural. You see a fire, then put that shit out. I once saved a girl's life on a whitewater rafting trip. After I got her back into the raft, I didn't get fully secured and wound up in the water. I nearly drowned, saw the bright white light, had my life flash before my eyes, and gave up trying to live and embraced that I was about to die. I had never been more at peace and calm with the world. Then I was suddenly vomiting water in a raft full of strangers. When I was younger I was asked to be the best man at my best friend's wedding. The night before the wedding a bunch of us decided to get epically drunk. I ended up staying up all night drinking and using some other party favors and just didn't stop. By the time the actual ceremony started I was so beyond out of it that a replacement best man had to sub in for me. Honestly don't even remember who filled in, and I was seated in the front pew. About 30 minutes into the ceremony I started violently vomiting and collapsed to the floor. I had to be carried outside. I caught a second wind about midway through the reception and proceeded to make great use of the open bar. I danced and made a ton of noise and got into a few ridiculous arguments. I haven't spoken to him or his wife since. If you're out there, I'm sorry, Eric. I had a chance meeting with an old friend turn into the worst day of my life. A buddy of mine who was once a college football player with a very bright future invited me over to catch up over a few sessions of NBA 2K. I agreed. Everything was fine. It was the second quarter and I was winning by 12 points. Boom. A flashbang had been tossed through his patio door and 5 seconds later SWAT burst into his house. I had 2 officers point assault rifles at the back of my head. Turns out my good friend had started dealing drugs. After being cuffed and taken down to the interrogation room, I ended up telling officers that I had recently graduated from college and had just received an offer to work for a governmental agency making $27/HR. I did this in hopes they would understand that I was caught up in the wrong place at the wrong time. Instead they called and got the entire offer taken away from me. Worst day of my fucking life. I'm now a college graduate struggling to find a decent job. Just applied for welfare last week. Yeah. I was 16 and this hurricane was coming in. Just got my license, so I took my girlfriend to an amusement park, no lines. I rode my first roller coaster. We went back to her house and laid in her yard to watch the storm finally hit land. I'd never seen something like this before, so it was crazy. I watched all these lights and colors and was like, I think I love you, ick now. She said it back. We kept dating for years. I appreciate all those memories, but laying in the grass and watching a massive storm coming, there's nothing else like that. A storm like that is everything. Sight, smell, touch, hearing. That storm fucked our houses up, but watching it come in was surreal. I really wasn't even mad, but I was a teen. I'd likely be ruined if I were an adult, took our homes, but goddamn what a sight. I'll remember that sight more than the home. Probably not my best story, but I had a friend who was a member of this really crazy cult. One day he offered me an invitation to go to a meeting. I went, not knowing the true extent of this group. The meeting was held within a cave at a completely empty beach. The sky was dark and grey, with thunder clouds rolling across the great expanse. Candlelight flickered across the jagged walls of the cave. Inside, about 15 men and women were reading from this leather-bound book, chanting softly. My friend led me in, giving me a reassuring smile. I watched as one woman took up a knife and started carving twisting symbols into her own flesh, while others painted themselves with these runes. The next few hours were spent with them cutting themselves and praying to these fucked up crazy gods of this. Suffice to say, I avoided that friend from then on. Oh, I also had a drunken sword fight once. Got stabbed by another friend and rushed to hospital. I was horny and in college and met this girl through a friend from work. I wasn't that into her, but she was kinda cute, super short, 4 minutes and 10 seconds, and pretty chill. She mentioned that she was technically a midget, so I figured one for the bucket list, because I'm an asshole. Our first date was to a party in the desert where we were one of about a dozen people with full hearing out of at least 100. That night I learned that there's such a thing as drunken slurring in sign language. Back then, everybody just took out their sidekick phones and typed it out instead, and how to sign, "Will you make me a hamburger?" Later that night, 2 of the kids got into an argument and began to duke it out. Suddenly, they just stopped fighting. One picks up the light hooked up to the generator around the site and they both start searching the ground. Turns out, during the scuffle, one of them lost their hearing aid. Apparently some things are just more important. I drank till the morning and smoked copious amounts, then got laid. I miss college. I went to Mexico and got really drunk and took some ecstasy. Went to a packed bar on a Friday night. Literally saw one of the most beautiful girls in my life. Like holy shit levels. The kind of hot that would make me bitch out in a heartbeat. Literally just walked up to her and pulled her in like we were about to kiss and then just said, "Let me get a drink." Finish said drink. Return to dance floor. She is at the top of a staircase and gives me the come over here gesture with her finger. Climb the staircase in front of this whole bar and just start making out to the cheers of everyone below. I didn't even know her name, yet we make out for hours and exchange numbers. Turns out she was on ecstasy too. We had sex the next day and I've been dating her ever since. 3 Not too awesome of a story, but that night just played out like the perfect college movie. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel and like. Share your stories in the comments.